Hi, friends, and welcome to the most recent update with the Endurance22 Expedition. My name is Chris Ahern. I am Director of Partnerships here at Reach the World, and I am so excited to be able to connect with all of you here from Reach the World headquarters in Manhattan. And so we're really excited to be able to connect with Tim in just a few minutes, but I always like to start these conversations with you all who are watching live. Those of you in the future, hello to the future, to those of you who are watching then, and to our wonderful classrooms who are joining us on camera, which we'll see in a little bit. So just remember, we are connecting with the Weddell Sea live on board the SA Agulhas 2, and because of that, the connection might not be perfect. It might be really, really great, in which case we're really thankful that the ship is in the proper place for that signal. We might actually lose Tim, and that's okay, because this is the excitement of being part and parcel with such an amazing adventure. So with that being said, I want to jump right into the action. So I would love to be able to bring up my friend Tim and see if we can hear from him. Let's get an update, because it's been a couple of days actually since we've even spoken with Tim about what's been happening. So so Tim, what's new? Where are you on board the ship today?
Hey, Chris. Hey, everyone. It's really great to see you. Welcome aboard the SA Agulhas 2 once again. I am calling in live from the Weddell Sea off the coast of Antarctica. It has been a couple days since we've checked in. We've had the weekend since I think the last time we spoke. And as always, there is a ton going on in the ship. The ship works 24/7. There's always something to do. And there's been a lot going on. Probably the most exciting thing that happened to me this weekend was on Saturday, I got to volunteer to support the science team on one of their ice outings. So I helped out a little bit carrying all of their heavy equipment to the front of the ship. We put it on this really cool basket that is connected to one of the ship's cranes, and sort of hung on to the edge of this basket as the crane lifted us up off the ship and down onto the ice floe beneath, which is just the best way to travel. It's my new favorite form of transportation. It goes really fast, but it is very, very exciting. And when we got down onto the ice, I helped two scientists who are doing a study of ice thickness, how thick the ice floes are in this part of the Weddell Sea. They do this every chance they get throughout this expedition. And this time, my job was to pull a sled. And this sled had a special electromagnetic contraption on it that's about as best I can describe it to you, that sends signals down through the bottom of the sled, through the snow, and through the ice. And once those signals hit the seawater beneath the ice, they bounce back up and get registered by the sled. So it can measure the distance between the bottom of the sled and the top of the water and tell you exactly how thick that ice and snow is together. And so I pulled this sled in a big triangle. We walked about 1.5 kilometers, about a mile away from the ship, way out there. The ship was just a little dot on like a white icy horizon, which was an experience all of itself. We saw some really scruffy looking molting Adelie penguins that we stopped to say hi to. And then I sort of did a right turn and did the second leg of a triangle, and then a right turn again, and came back to the point that we started. So in total, we walked probably a little bit more than 3 kilometers or more than 2 miles. And there was someone walking behind us with this special kind of fancy high-tech ski pole, is the best way to describe it, that every few steps she stuck it in the snow and pushed a button, and it went beep, and then she walked 2 steps and put it in the snow, beep, and she followed us the path of the sled. That measured the snow, just the snow, so that when we got back to the ship, we could take my measurements from the sled, subtract the snow measurements, and know exactly how thick the ice was. And what we discovered was that the ice was not as thick as we thought it was, that we were walking on for 2 miles. It was plenty thick for safety reasons, but it was about, on average, a little bit more than 1 meter thick, which for the Weddell Sea is not very thick. We've definitely seen ice floes that are more like 5 or 6 meters thick, so more than 10 feet thick of ice. So when you compare that, 1 meter is really not that much. But I had so much fun hanging out with the scientists and seeing what they do. And I'm going to publish an article to the Reach the World Journey page about it, with both some pictures from that experience and the actual data that we collected visualized on a chart. So you can see what that data is. That data is all going to be fed into a database that then is used by scientists around the world to sort of track over time the ice cover of this part of the world, which is just very, very exciting to be a part of that. The search continues for the Endurance. It is the AUV's been in the water every single day, sometimes as many as 3 times a day for hours at a time, just going back and forth, mowing the lawn, so to speak, at the bottom of the Weddell Sea, looking for that shipwreck. And there is not a lot from a sonar perspective going on down at the bottom of the Weddell Sea right now. So everybody is keeping their fingers crossed about that. We know from the weather folks on board, from the South African Weather Service, that there's some colder weather coming since we have arrived in the Weddell Sea. The ice pack, the frozen solid top layer of the Weddell Sea, has extended about 40 nautical miles further north than it was when we first got there. So at first we were 10 miles in from the ice edge, and now we're about 50 miles in from the ice edge. So everyone's keeping a really close eye, making sure that there is an exit route for us still, so that we don't get trapped in the ice for the year. But the ship is amazing. Everyone's very confident in our ability to maneuver, because the ice that we've seen so far has been mostly first year ice, which means it's very easy for the SA Agulhas 2 to cut right through it.
I have to say, Tim, my teacher brain was firing on all cylinders when you were telling me, when you were telling us all about the trip that you were taking over with the ice scientists. The idea of being able to send sensors down to do the thickness, but then having to subtract the snow layer on top. I have a feeling that there may be an accompanying resource sheet for teachers to do in the near future. So just so I already know, I already have that in my head about how we could set that up. So we'll get that going soon for sure. I also appreciate the update on the search. That is really exciting. I want to also just remind everyone who has been watching the last few live streams, because we talked a little bit about how the Agulhas moves and is able to free itself in case a little bit of the first year ice kind of gets stuck, by lifting up that fuel tank and then moving it from side to side to just kind of push the ice away on either side. So anyone who wants to learn a little bit more about how amazing the Agulhas is at preventing itself from getting stuck, please watch one of our videos from last week, and you can actually see all about that. So we have a really exciting guest today. I am super thrilled to be able to speak with him and to learn a little bit more about what his job is on board the ship, after having spoken with so many other amazing individuals who are all contributing to this incredible expedition. Plus, we have some classrooms that we want to get to as well. So Tim, I want you to be able to introduce your friend in a second, but I did want to make sure to tell our chat to please let us know in the chat where you're from, where you're tuning in from today. I can see already that we have some folks from Allen, Texas. We have some folks from Brazil, so we are going international right off the bat. And I know some of our classrooms that are joining us today are from New Jersey, and they'll have a chance to introduce themselves in a little bit. But and I just noticed, hi Celie. Celie's right over your shoulder there.
There, yeah.
So Tim, tell us about your guest. Let's hear a little bit more about that.
Real quick, just one final thing on the science field trip. The people I was working with on the ice were from South Africa, Germany, Switzerland, and one other country that I'm forgetting, but I'm sure the person will remind me as soon as I'm finished. But it's a very international science team. So not only are the people following the expedition international in nature, but so are the people here on the ship. So let me get right into it. Today, for those of you who have been on live streams over the past couple of weeks, you'll notice that my background is a little different. I've been trying to find some new places to show you on the ship. Right now, I'm sitting in the sixth deck lounge, I should say, of the SA Agulhas 2. This is the floor where my cabin is. There's a small sort of kitchen area. This lounge is a social space. It's a place where people hang out and relax and check their email and play board games and just sort of unwind. It's really, really bright behind me. You can see there are some windows out the front of the ship where you can look out over the front of the ship. But this, for example, one of the things that we would do in this space is on February 15th was Ernest Shackleton's birthday, and we had a cake and celebrated in this space. So it was kind of a hangout space where we all got together. So a lot of fun things happen here. But it directly relates to my guest today, who is Shawaal. Hey, Shawaal. Welcome. Shawaal is a steward aboard the SA Agulhas 2, and I'm so happy to have him join me today because I really want to talk to him about what it's like to live and work on the ship. So Shawaal, hello, welcome.
Hi, Tim.
Hey, Fred.
Hello.
This is a place where people are coming through all the time, so you'll see lots of activity in the background. That was Fred. So Shawaal, tell us about you. Where are you from? Where did you grow up?
I'm from South Africa. I'm from Cape Town. I grew up in a place called Mitchell's Plain.
Yeah, you were born and raised there?
I'm born and raised there.
All right.
Okay.
You are a steward on the SA Agulhas 2. What is a steward and what does a steward do?
Well, a steward's job consists of many things. It's mostly into accommodation, stores, preparation of food, living spaces. We clean all those places, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
I can attest to the fact that is a big job on
Big
this
job.
ship. I've never seen Shawaal sit down for this long, so this is a special treat to see him just not flying from one thing to the next. What is your typical day like?
Well, we wake up at 6 in the morning and then start cleaning floors, cleaning the coffee station, cleaning all our spaces, go down, get ready for serving time. And that's the time when you guys come down for breakfast at 7:30. After 7:30, our daily duties goes on till serving time at 11:30. And from 11:30 till say about 1 o'clock we serve. Done with serving, then it's our 2-hour rest period.
Okay.
And then from 3 o'clock we start again.
Okay.
And 6:30 is our next serving time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're serving all 3 meals?
All 3 meals each day.
In between you are cleaning these
working,
public spaces.
any space.
Yeah.
You just work where you're required to work.
Are you doing some of the linens?
Yes,
the
we
laundry?
do the laundry. We do the cabins.
Yeah.
We do everything.
It's a huge job.
It's a huge
You
job.
can't underestimate or overestimate, I should say, how big this job is.
Especially on this floor, we on this floor, we use staying on the 6th floor. There's too many cabins.
There are a lot of people on this deck, and they all very much enjoy their coffee and their tea time snacks and all of the amazing luxuries that Shawaal and his colleagues provide for us. So we're all very grateful to him for his hard work. What do you do? So you have 2-hour rest in the afternoon, and then I hope other time to yourself. What do you do for fun on the ship?
You can either go to the gym,
Mm-hmm.
or you can go to the sauna,
Mm-hmm.
or you can play some chess. But most of the time, the guys like playing FIFA, PS, PlayStation.
Yeah.
Yeah, we play tournaments at night.
All right. I think
That's
there's going to be some students on this call who also like to play FIFA. That's very cool.
Shawaal, I think you just became the best friend to just about every student on this call by letting you know that in your off time you play FIFA, and the fact that you have FIFA in the middle of the Weddell Sea.
Do you have a favorite team that you play as?
Yeah, Barcelona. There's many teams, Real Madrid.
All right. Good. What languages do you speak?
English and Afrikaans mostly.
Okay.
Yes.
So I've heard Afrikaans on the ship, And I think this is a good time to teach a few words of Afrikaans.
What would you like to know?
The word I hear the most is lekker. What does lekker mean?
Lekker is nice.
Means nice?
Yeah.
Means like cool?
No, when you're eating something like maybe a donut or something, and you would say, that's lekker, it's nice. It tastes nice.
All right. So everybody at home, you can try that if you want to speak some Afrikaans. Describe something that you like or think is nice as
Lekker.
lekker. Yep. How do you say hello
Hello.
in Afrikaans?
Goeiedag.
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 All right. Are there short and long ways to say hello? Like
No,
this is one. Goeiedag. All right. And how would you say like my name is?
My naam is.
I know this. All right. Very nice. Well, maybe we'll get some other Afrikaans phrase requests later in the Q&A. We have a lot of students from around the world, and largely from North America watching today. What would you like them to know about living and working on a ship?
Well, living and working on a ship, it's a very isolated lifestyle. You're away from your family most of the time. You work and the communication, it's very different. It's a very different lifestyle. So you have to choose wisely if you want to work on the ship.
Is it pretty important to like and get along with the people you're living in?
Yes, of course. Like a family, no one's perfect. You make mistakes and we fix them tomorrow and we apologize when you're wrong, those kind of things. So yeah, very, very important to have a good relationship with your colleagues.
What is your cabin like? What is your living situation on the ship?
Oh, my living situation is nice. Our cabins are nice.
Yeah.
Like yours? No, single cabin.
Nice. Very nice. Excellent. Well, those are like the urgent questions I had for Shawaal. We've had a chance to talk a lot as he's popped in and out of my room over the last few weeks, and we've seen each other in places around the deck, but I'll save the rest of the questions for students, Chris.
Excellent. I just wanted to briefly mention, and this is also a good indication, if you have questions and you're following us on YouTube, please put them into the chat. We'll be taking some of those, but also to our classrooms who are joining us live on camera, please turn on those cameras so we can begin to call on you and get you into some questions. So I did want to briefly mention something. So I'm always trying to think about the connections between the Agulhas and the Endurance Expedition over 100 years ago. And all I was thinking about as you were talking, Shawaal, is that one of the most important things with the Endurance that kept them going was making sure that they had enough to eat and that they found enough to eat, because their rations ran low very quickly. And the fact that Shawaal, you and your fellow stewards are doing such an important job of keeping everyone fed and happy and comfortable makes the whole ship work that much better. And so just such an important element of the experience, knowing and connecting it back to history that was one of the main things that allowed Shackleton and his crew to survive, was just staying fed and staying content with one another. So let's see here. I'm just asking these classes to start their video.
Chris, while you're doing that, I want to just add, I can attest to the fact that meal times aboard the ship are very, very happy communal times. When we're all out doing separate things during the day, we all, like 3 times a day, we get a chance to all come together and eat delicious meals and just talk and check in with each other and catch up. And it definitely raises morale for sure.
I can very, very easily see that. And I was also going to very briefly say that from what I've heard from some of the other guests that we've spoken with on this, and about the amazing food. I obviously haven't had a chance to enjoy it myself, but from what I've heard from some of Tim's other guests, the food has been very lekker. So hopefully I used that correctly. I want to call on Miss Merrifield's class, since I can see the amazing Endurance22 flag. If there's someone there who has a question.
What up? Introduce yourself.
My name is Flynn. If you don't find the endurance this time, then when will you go again?
Hey, Flynn. It's nice to meet you. Thanks for that great question. We still have plenty of time to look, so don't give up on us yet. We're working really, really hard, and the subsea team is working really, really hard to find this ship. So I am very much an optimist, and I'm going to say we're still going to find this ship. In fact, the people who are leading the search, who have done many, many shipwreck searches before, say it almost always happens that you find it on the last day. That's what they say. So I've got my fingers crossed. I still think we're going to find it. I think that in the unlikely event that we don't find Endurance, I think that we'll learn a lot from this experience. We're surveying a lot of sections of the ocean or the seafloor that have never been searched by this kind of by anyone. We generally know how deep it is, but these sonar images that are coming back, even if they're not showing us image of Endurance, which we would all love to see, they're showing us, we're learning a lot about what's at the bottom of the Weddell Sea. So I can't say whether there would be another expedition. I'm not going to answer quite yet because I'm holding out hope, but that's a great question. Thank you.
Awesome. Ms. Powell's class, Hillsdale, New Jersey. Does anyone there have a question?
All right, go ahead.
How does the ship have internet?
Can you say it one more time, please?
How does the ship have internet?
How does the ship have internet?
Who's that?
It's the child in this class.
Okay, we have Wi-Fi on board. The ETOs are in charge of that. I'm not too clued up about how they do that.
There's an officer on the ship whose name is Orlando, and he is like a technological whiz. You should see him move between all of the electrical components of the ship and move plugs around. When I need to do a live stream event like this, I say, hey, Orlando, like I would love to be in the 6-deck lounge today. And he goes and switches some cords around and boom, there's beautiful internet access. The short answer to your question though is how does that access get to the ship in the first place? On the top of the ship, there's a big white ball, big ball. And inside is like a satellite dish. The ball protects the dish on the inside. And that dish is constantly beaming signals. That's my non-technical description. It is connecting with the rest of the world and providing really amazing, for where we are, really amazing internet access for all of us. I think we all can send messages home to our loved ones. We can do video calls like this. We can do I feel very connected.
Yeah, we are connected.
Yeah, there are times though when it's like when the sea's rough or it's a little slow, or we're parked in a weird direction so that dome is blocked by something else on the ship where the internet's not great, but for the most part, it's really good.
That's a great question, and again, just make sure that everyone is watching some of our previous live streams that we have on demand on the Reach the World YouTube channel, because when Tim was last on Monkey Island, he actually was able to angle the camera up and be able to show some of all of that communication stuff that allows for us to be able to connect with Tim and Shawaal and the rest of the amazing folks aboard the SA Agulhas 2 in real time. All right, Miss Schaefer's class, that is our friends at the that are Lincoln Leopards. Does someone have a question there?
How long have you guys been trapped in ice?
The longest time I'd say we were trapped in ice for a week. That was the Sonday trip. That was the trip before this. 1 week.
The ship regularly gets temporarily stuck in ice. It's part of navigating through a place like this. Everyone expects it. It's totally predictable. And they have all these really cool tools that help us get out, like the swinging of the crane with the fuel thing on the end, the pumping of ballast water from the side so it can rock out. Really like incredibly strong engines. There are 4 engines that produce an incredible amount of power. So whenever the ship does get temporarily stuck, it can very reliably get out.
It's a great question though. So we got a couple questions. We have a couple questions from the chat that I want to get to. So we have April tuning in from the UK asked, Shawaal, do you get cold?
No, never. I work inside accommodation, so I don't get cold. I'm always home. Only the deck guys get cold. The ones working outside.
Oh, that's so great. Another question. We have Alexander in Brazil wanting to know how much, basically, how long are provisions on board going to last? Like how much are you prepared for?
Well, the provisions are made for the whole trip, but we make it work wherever we can. You know, that's the chef's job to stretch the provisions out. You know, it's a very difficult job. It's not easy.
At the same time, though, in case you're envisioning this world where we're deprived of anything aboard the ship, every day at like 3 o'clock, Shawaal brings like little cookies and like fresh made donuts. We are not suffering in any way. Nobody's on reduced rations here. In fact, I'm sure I will come home from this much heavier than when I came.
Well, especially because Tim, I know that your workout clothes are one of the first things that you had to take out when you were preparing for this trip. So you haven't had a chance to work off some of those calories you're putting on.
That's true.
So we also have just one more question before we go up to Maine to our classroom in Falmouth. So Barb in Texas wants to know, Shawaal, how long are your contracts for this and maybe other expeditions?
Okay, so our time on board is actually 4 months. So for every month you get 7 days leave. That's our ratio. For officers it's different. They work 2 months on, 2 months off.
So do you spend 4 months nonstop on the ship?
Yes.
And you get 1 month off?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah, that's.
And even though you're returning to port in Cape Town, in between cruises, you're not getting off the ship.
We're not getting off the ship because of COVID right now. So COVID protocol. Yeah.
Oh,
Do you get
really...
to wave?
Well, I'm sure it's still a lot more comfortable to be on board the ship in port because at least you have stuff that can come to you at least, right?
At least in order.
Exactly. Okay, let's go to Miss Merrifield's class up in Falmouth. Do you have a question there?
Hi, I'm Juliana, and I have 2 questions. One of them is, was the meal prepared before the expedition? Was the menu prepared for the expedition, before the expedition?
Was the menu?
Yeah, was the menu prepared before we left?
No, the menus gets done by the day. So like tonight, the chef will prepare the menu for tomorrow. You know?
And Julian, one of the cool things that they do too, because obviously we don't want to waste any food. All resources aboard the ship are very valuable. If we have chicken one night, the next day there might be like a chicken pot pie or something, where the leftovers are used very creatively in the dish for the next thing. I find the menu making very creative here because it makes good use of all the ingredients and nothing gets wasted.
Thank you. My other question was, what is the crew's favorite meal?
What's your favorite meal?
I would say the crew's favorite meal would be curry. I like curry. On a Sunday, curry.
Thank you.
Excellent. So like a spice. How spicy? Spicy?
Not too spicy.
Not too spicy.
Everybody don't like it spicy.
Okay.
But to consider some other people.
That's great. Those are two really great questions. All right, Miss Pause's class. We'll come back to Hillsdale. Do we have anyone with a question there?
Yes, go ahead, Abby. Introduce yourself, say just your first name.
Hi, I'm Abby. I have two questions also. How many people are trying to find the Endurance?
And what was the one about the crew?
Does your crew speak the same language?
Yes. All of the crew speak very differently. Most of us are South African. And some are from Durban. No, that's the basic languages that we speak on board.
When you are not out doing your work, do you speak Afrikaans?
Yeah, mostly.
Okay, yeah. And Abby, what was your other question? I'm sorry, it was something about how many people are part of the Endurance?
How many people are trying to find the Endurance?
There are, aboard the ship right now, there are just over 100 people, and that includes the expedition team and the crew and officers of the ship. As far as I know, it's only this ship trying to find the Endurance right now. When we're out on the ice, we don't see anybody else. There is nobody for a very long way all around the ship. So it feels like our ship is just this nest of safety and warmth in the middle of a very cold, barren, sort of frozen ocean scene.
Two really good questions. I think it's so amazing too that, and I like the way that that Abby framed that, how many people are looking for it, because it's the entire ship. Everyone is working, everyone has different responsibilities, but it's everyone's job to work together to find Endurance. All right,
That's a really good point. Sorry, hey Chris. Sorry, you interpreted that, I think, probably the way Abby meant it. How many people on the ship are actively looking for Endurance? Now I understand. Let me just add one more thing, because the subsea team, which is the team that's really dedicated, they're on the back deck every day, around the clock, 24 hours a day, taking shifts. They're the ones who are actively putting in the AUV and taking it out of the water and monitoring the data that's coming in from the scanning of the seabed. But everybody, absolutely everybody, just like Chris said, is supporting them in some way. The ice scientists are, keeping an eye on the drift of the ice so that we can position the ship where it needs to be to get the AUV where it needs to be. People like Shawaal are keeping everybody fed and warm and clean and happy and giving them what they need when they're not working, and even when they are working sometimes. So from everybody is involved in this search. All of our efforts are really being put in that direction, especially as the days are winding down that we can be here.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Miss Schaefer's class.
Hi, have you found any of Shackleton's belongings yet?
We have not found any of Shackleton's belongings, but I can tell you there are many, many people on the ship who would love that. There is, like, right across this wall in the front corner of this deck is a man named Menson Bound, who is the marine archaeologist and is the director of exploration for this expedition. And I think he would like go swimming in the Weddell Sea out of happiness if he found some of Shackleton's belongings. He would be so happy. that is essentially what we're doing, right? Because the ship belonged to Shackleton. We're trying to find it. We're trying to learn about it. We're trying to, any little clue like that that we would find on the seabed floor is going to tell us something new about what happened to that ship. So fingers crossed, fingers crossed. If one day that AUV is sort of going down across the bottom of the seabed and all of a sudden there's a crate or a bottle or, you know, something that's obviously human made, that is going to be of great excitement, of great interest to this expedition. But so far, no luck.
Soon, I hope. Very, very soon. So I do have one question that I see in the chat that I would love to hear your thoughts on, Shawaal, which is this is from Allen, Texas. We want to know if the chefs on board, if the kitchen on board is making anything that's sort of South African style.
Well, I think Tim can vouch for that because you know the things, right?
Well, tell us.
Now the other day we made some kusistas for him. It's the first time.
Explain what that is.
So a kusista is like it's like a donut, you know. Basically, and Tim had some. It was delicious. Well, there's many things that the chef prepares that's very nice. That is South African, you know. We make it our own style.
These donuts were really light. I think they're egg free. It's kind of like it's a very light donut that had the sticky sort of sweet coating over the top. It was an amazing surprise. We do not necessarily South African, but there's tea time every afternoon, which I love, and I'm definitely going to do when I come back to the US, even though I'm not here anymore. I know that in some cases, there are, every once in a while, there are braais on the helipad. Yeah. Can you explain what a braai is?
A braai is like a barbecue, as you guys know. Okay. Yeah. So, but we don't do it with gas. We do it with wood and charcoal. Yeah. Okay. That's a braai. Yeah. We'll most probably have that when we go on our way back to Cape Town. Yeah. That's a nice braai.
Nice way to sort of celebrate at the end of the voyage.
That braai sounds very lekker. No, that sounds great. I have a follow-up question about that. So obviously you're adding your own South African twist on a lot of the food. Are you incorporating any, because since it's such an international group, are you incorporating any other sort of traditional meals from other places where folks are hailing from, maybe to give a little taste of home while everyone's on board?
No, not necessarily. You know, we like to give them a surprise of how the chef makes food or what he likes to, you know, prepare for the people. But whatever he's preparing, the people enjoy. As long as the people enjoy the food and good food. If there's good food, people are very happy on the ship, any ship.
And that's a big enough challenge, even when your kitchen isn't going like this as you're cooking.
That's very difficult, yeah, to bake some eggs and fry the eggs on the ship that's rolling.
I've as someone who grew up as the son of a chef, I've spent a fair amount of time as a kid in commercial kitchens growing up in restaurants, and that work is hard enough, let alone imagining it on board a ship that is constantly in motion. That is all the more power to you and your colleagues for keeping all of that stuff together and not on the floor. Ms. Paus's class, we'll come to you for a question before going back up to Maine.
Okay. All right, give me your name.
My name is Abby.
Another Abby.
And how much sleep do you get?
Want to say it one more time, Abby?
Can you say your question one more time, please?
You can even pull your
How much sleep do you get?
Well, our time when we're done is like 8 o'clock, and then we have to wake up at 6 in the morning or be on duty at 6 in the morning. So that's our resting time.
So FIFA World Cup time is 8 to 10.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
All right.
I mean, we've heard from a few other folks too that as soon as you're sort of off the clock and you're able to do a little bit of your own stuff too, that some people will take the chance to obviously sleep and relax, but a lot of people then immediately are taking photos and enjoying the fact that you're in one of the most incredible remote places on the planet.
Yeah, we do. We enjoy it.
Absolutely. All right, let's go up to Maine, Miss Merrifield's class. Do we have any questions there?
I'm Cole, and I was wondering, you found a meter of ice, but how much snow did you find?
It's a good question, Cole. The snow is tricky because it snowed a little bit over the last few days, but it's also very windy at times here. So the snow blows around on top of the ice and it creates like collections of snow. So the snow isn't evenly distributed. It's not like 1 inch thick everywhere on the ice. There were places where the snow was thicker and places where there wasn't any snow. The wind had blown the snow right off of the ice. And one of the things that we had to do, or that I learned to do, is to not have what's called a bias with my data. That means I couldn't go around big snow piles with my sled. I wanted to include that snow pile in my sled track so that it incorporated that into the average of the measurements that we got. So when I finished, it showed, I was in areas where there was no snow. I was in areas where there was about a foot of snow. And using math to find the average of all of those measurements, we could come up with what the average or the mean of snowfall in that area was by averaging them out. So I would say, just to answer your question, though, I think my feeling, not necessarily based on data, was that there was about 1 inch or so of snow. Not very much.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Good question.
All right, we're gonna come back to Ms. Pauz's class, see if we have any other questions there.
Hi. Have you, my name's Charlotte. How do you not go out of bed if the ship shakes?
I heard Charlotte, and I heard something about the ship shaking, but how do we do what?
No, nice and loud.
How do you not fall out of bed if the ship shakes?
It's really working. If you are going to that.
Yeah.
No, you need to learn to balance yourself, After time you get used to it.
When you're carrying like an armful of plates.
You get used to it.
It's one of the things I heard really often when we first started is to remember to keep one hand for the ship and one hand for yourself, which means everywhere you go in the ship, there's a railing or a wall or something, and you hold on to that thing that's fixed to the ship, and you keep one hand free. So if you get tossed about, you can protect your head. When like in my room, I have a little bathroom and a shower. And when we were sailing across moving across the Southern Atlantic, I basically was like bracing my hands on both sides of the shower as we were going. So you kind of come up with like method of holding yourself still. And after a while, you can anticipate it so that when Shawaal is walking with a plate of something, he can kind of lean this way and then lean this way as he's going. It's called getting your ship legs, right? Yeah, your sea legs.
Oh, that's a great question. It's really hard. It's definitely hard when you're on a ship that's really moving and rolling, but it sounds like no one's falling out of bed, so that's a good sign. Miss Merrifield, do you have any other students who have questions?
We sure do. And while he's coming up, Tim, I just wanted to tell you how excited the Merrifield team is because you were one of the people that made our video of our buoy going in the water. So very excited when you showed us the boss.
Excellent.
Hi, I'm Tyler, and I was wondering, each day, what's the temperature like?
Do you have like a guess? Well, okay. Well, Tyler, on board the ship, there are 2 members of the South African Weather Service, and they are monitoring that really, really closely for lots of reasons. They even stay up, take shifts so that one of them is awake at night so that they can do measurements of those sorts of things through the night. And they send that information back to other weather agencies so that they can make forecasts based on that. But generally speaking, and I have to do a little math because it's all in degrees Celsius, but the warmer days have been about -5 Celsius. So that's not, it's like maybe in the high 20s Fahrenheit, mid 20s. The coldest days, we know, for example, in every morning there's a weather and ice briefing in the auditorium, and we've been told based on the models that predict the weather that there's a cold snap coming. And everybody's watching that very closely because the temperature could get down to like -15 or 20 Celsius, which is, I think, approaching about 0 Fahrenheit, which is cold. And obviously, as the ship breaks through the ice, there's lots of little kind of open water in between. And when it's that cold, that glue between the bigger flows of ice starts to freeze even quicker. And it kind of closes the door behind us in the ice. So we pay close attention to what temperature it is. And when a cold snap like that is coming, when it's going to be 0 degrees Fahrenheit for a little while, a period of time, we have to be careful because the ice is going to start to freeze around us, and we don't want that to happen. So yeah, I would say on average, it's about 5 or 10 below Celsius. So somewhere in the high teens or low 20s Fahrenheit.
Yeah, definitely very cold. Very cold, and as a comparison, here in New York today, I think the low was around the 20s. So and it's a cold day in New York. So your highs are our lows, and it's only gonna get colder for you all. So we're running low. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, one more interesting fact. Sorry to interrupt, but one more interesting fact about temperature is that the water of the Weddell Sea is held very, very constant, and I think it's about -1.8 degrees Celsius. It's always that temperature. So for the penguins, when we think about like penguins swimming in this cold water, it could actually be much warmer to be in the water than it is to be on land, because with the wind chill and with those colder temperatures, it gets very, very cold on the land, but the water always stays the same sort of chilly, but not as chilly by comparison temperature.
Very, very interesting. And I know that there's some really fascinating science and physics as to why the temperature of the water stays consistently. So we'll talk at Reach the World and see if we can come up with some really cool resources to talk about that. So we're running a little low on time. I did want to ask one more question of Shawaal before we wrap up today, and that's more about the crew. So is most of the crew like you from South Africa, or is it as international as the expedition team?
No, most of our crew is from South Africa.
Very, very cool. And then also I have one personal question. I'm just wondering, so what is your favorite thing to do on board? Since you're on the ship so often, what is the thing that you enjoy most doing?
I enjoy relaxing, and I enjoy sitting in the sauna. Yeah, I enjoy the sauna very much. Especially in this cold weather. It's nice.
Yeah. I can imagine that when it's as cold as Tim was just talking about, being in a nice sauna of 130 degrees Fahrenheit is quite enjoyable. So
for those who missed it before, the SA Agulhas 2 was built in Finland, and there are 2 saunas aboard the ship, one for crew and one for passengers. So it's a really nice touch. I think the sauna has been very popular.
If I was on board, it would definitely be one of my favorite places for sure. So before we, as we're about to wrap up, I do want to express my sincere appreciation to everyone who is joining us today, especially our classrooms from Hillsdale, from Hillsdale, New Jersey, from Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey, from Falmouth, Maine, as well as all of the folks who are joining us from all around the world. We've had individuals joining us from Texas, from England, from Brazil. We will have people from all sorts of other places that are going to be joining us in the future. Again, hello to the future. So thank you all for being here today and giving us your time. A special thank you to you, Shawaal, for being here and for answering all these questions and just giving us a look at what an amazing experience it is to be a part of this ship and to be such an important member. But as we wrap up, we always like to let the last bit go over to our partner classrooms. So if Ms. Merrifield, Ms. Paz, you can unmute, give a big cheer and a thank you to our guests. 1, 2, 3. All right. Well, thank you guys for that, and we really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for being here today. We have a really packed week of live streams for you, so we'll be doing some events with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants tomorrow, and then I'll be back hosting on Wednesday and Thursday before Joe from Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants closes things out. We have all sorts of topics, all sorts of stories live from aboard the SA Agulhas 2. Thanks again, Shawaal. Thank you, Tim. We will see you later.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Was long, eh?